District will join us live to discuss the government shutdown and more. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. We'll also discuss my upcoming golf classic and how it helps benefit school-based healthcare programs through Legacy Community Health.
Plus, we'll also dive into the top stories, including the CDC accepting controversial new recommendations for COVID-19 vaccines that could make it harder to receive one.
Also, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
All that and more right here on Hello Houston after the news from NPR and News 88.7.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. Former FBI Director James Comey has pleaded not guilty to criminal charges brought by federal prosecutors. The case has fueled concerns that the Justice Department is being used to go after President Trump's perceived political enemies. NPR's Ryan Lucas has more.
Comey's attorney entered the not guilty plea at his arraignment in federal court in Alexandria, Virginia. The former FBI director faces one false statements count and one count of obstruction of a congressional proceeding. The charges stem from testimony Comey gave to Congress in 2020. The Justice Department charged him just days after President Trump publicly called on Attorney General Pam Bondi to go after Comey and two other political foes. Trump also pushed out the top federal prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia and replaced him with a former insurance lawyer who once served as Trump's personal attorney, who days later secured the Comey indictment. That has fueled growing concerns that the Justice Department is being weaponized to target Trump's opponents. Ryan Lucas, NPR News, Washington.
We've entered the second week of the shutdown of the federal government with no end in sight. The longest was 35 days in 2019. NPR's Domenico Montanaro has more on what the path out might look like.
Already there are delays at airports around the country as air traffic controllers call out sick, and they haven't even missed a full paycheck yet. That'll happen October 28th. The White House isn't budging and is trying to blame Democrats. Democrats are holding firm on extending Affordable Care Act subsidies, which expire at the end of the year. Right now it appears to be a game of chicken, with the way out likely going to come down to who wins the messaging battle and which side feels the most pressure. Do Democrats fold and agree to a short-term reopening? Do Republicans appear to go too far with attempted firings and cutting off funds to blue states? At this point, it's not clear who has the advantage, and this could go on a while. Domenico Montanaro, NPR News, Washington.
Forecasters think global trade will grow faster this year than they had expected. NPR's Scott Horsley has more on the latest outlook from the World Trade Organization.
The WTO expects global goods trade to grow by 2.4% this year, more than twice as fast as it had been projecting just a couple months ago. That's partly thanks to robust trade in computer chips and other products tied to artificial intelligence. Tesla is rolling out cheaper models of two of its electric vehicles. The Model Y and Model 3 will both list for under $40,000. Tesla is trying to recharge sales, which have been hurt by increased competition and political backlash to CEO Elon Musk. And gold prices continue to sparkle. After topping $4,000 an ounce this week for the first time ever, gold continues to see strong demand from anxious investors seeking a safe haven. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
Wall Street's higher at last check. The Dow is up 183 points. The Nasdaq up 193. S&P 500 up 37. You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo is calling for more transparency after claiming an audit this week shows the county's flood control district failed to implement a reformed policy for selecting vendors for major projects. News 88.7's Sarah Gruno reports.
Last year, county commissioners directed the flood control district to start maintaining documents in their process for selecting vendors. They also required employees involved in the procurement process start completing conflict of interest forms. Commissioner Tom Ramsey last year said qualified people should be deciding which vendors are qualified for the job.
I'll not participate in any system that encourages unqualified people to be selected.
Hidalgo is now calling on the flood control district to begin implementing ethics reform in their process for selecting vendors. In a statement to Houston Public Media, the flood control district says they, quote, categorically reject any implication of unethical behavior in contracting processes. I'm Sarah Gruno, News 88.7.
As many as 2/3 of all Texas teachers are considering leaving the profession, according to a new study, but that's a notable improvement. Next year, the number of teachers thinking of leaving the classroom was last year. That number was 12% higher. Researchers from the Charles Butt Foundation who conducted the poll say a better campus community would affect their decision to stay. Kendra Montejos Edwards is one of those researchers.
This year, when we asked questions about retention, what would be really important to you continuing moving forward, they say their support from their campus admin.
Every single one of the 1,200 teachers surveyed across Texas say a salary increase would also sway them. Houston police have confirmed that another body was pulled from the White Oak Bayou this morning. The body was spotted in the vicinity of the Taylor Street and I-10. A spokesperson for HPD confirmed to Houston Public Media that a body was recovered from the bayou, but did not provide details about the exact location of where the body was pulled from or any details about the victim. This is the 7th body recovered from local waterways in the past month. I'm Alexandra Hart.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance, where drivers can compare direct rates using Progressive's rate comparison tool. Customers can see options and rates side by side. More at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, Houston.
Hello there. I'm back.
Just the two of us.
Yes, I'm back and Celeste left.
I know. What happened? I'm the pivot here.
You are our constant this week.
I'm the steady.
Celeste has the day off. I'm back with you. Some people were asking in chat where I went to, where I was at. It was Care Partners, which does a great job in our community caring for folks with dementia and advanced dementia project.
Your mother is one of those
and
people?
My mom is one of their clients, and so every year I MC their luncheon. I feel like I have to. And
I think you should. No, my
Yeah.
mother had dementia also, and there's a lot of that in my family.
But I ran right back here to the station after lunch, and I taped something that's coming up in a couple of weeks that you'll get to hear. So we were here working along, and you guys held down the fort without me.
Well, we have a cold front coming, by the way.
Huh?
Yeah. I know we want to get to Al Green here in just a sec.
You'll tell us more about the weather in a bit, but it's going to be comfortable.
It's going to be this weekend is going to be stellar. So whatever Friday football game you have, it's going to be wonderful. Have you seen that moon?
Oh, yeah. I keep getting photos of it from people.
Yeah,
like,
and depending on your Google search, it's either the harvest moon or it's the hunter moon. Because the closest full moon to the autumnal equinox is the harvest moon. But they're both the same number of days from the autumnal equinox. So it's kind of like a tie.
And you say you don't learn anything on this show. Anyway, what I want you to learn right now is the number. You can call or text us at 713-440-8870. Why do I say that? Because you have an incredible opportunity to talk to one of our elected officials. And that's how I'm going to lead right into our first guest. On January 3rd, 2025, U.S. Congressman Al Green took the oath of office to serve the people of Texas' 9th Congressional District, beginning his 11th term in the United States House of Representatives. Congressman Green currently serves on the House Committees on Financial Services, including the Subcommittee on Financial Institutions, and as a ranking member on the Subcommittee on Oversight and Investigation. Congressman Green is with us now. Welcome back to Hello Houston.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And there is one slight amendment. I'm also now on Homeland Security. This is something that happened lately, so you wouldn't have that information.
And that's good because we want to talk about that. But we also, as I said a moment ago, the congressman has agreed to take your calls, comments, questions. So please join this conversation at 713-440-8870. So I guess the first place to start, which is probably on a lot of people's mind, and we've got a lot to cover today, but it is the government shutdown. How is it going? Are we closer to getting this resolved, or are we at a stalemate?
Well, the important thing to know is that the Republicans can end the shutdown whenever they choose. On all of these votes that they've taken thus far, If they wanted to, they could end the shutdown. They can do it because they can simply change the rules as they have done for other things. When they wanted to put Judge Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, they changed the rules so that they don't have to go to cloture. Cloture requires 60 votes. If you change the rules, you can do it with 51 votes. They just recently passed a legislation that allowed them to, and I say passed legislation, changed the rules to allow them to put nominees that the president made before them so that they could pass them. 48 were passed on September 12th. And then there was another time when they had as many as more than 100. So they simply changed the rules. Now, many people don't understand this change the rules statement. Here's what they do. They present whatever it is that they'd like to change, and they say, we'd like to pass this legislation with 51 votes as opposed to the cloture votes, which would be 60. The parliamentarian rules against them. Once the parliamentarian rules against them, then you vote to determine whether or not you can overturn the ruling of the parliamentarian. You literally say, I appeal the ruling of the parliamentarian. And you can win that vote with 51. You don't have to have 60 to change the rules. 51 votes allows you to change the rules. You change the rules and you do what you want. This is just not important to the president. The president is doing this because he wants to fire people. He can say that these people are not essential. He can lay the blame on persons who determined that certain persons are non-essential workers, and as a result, these workers can be laid off and fired. That's what it's all about. They can change the rules today if they want to.
Let me ask you this then. If at what's at stake is the president wanting to fire and do away with positions in the government, and they're using this shutdown, if the Democrats in the Senate, and I understand you're in the House, but if the Democrats in the Senate are aware and concerned about that, couldn't they just vote through the CR, the continuing resolution, to give us that 6 more weeks or 7 weeks of the government being open, which would then offset the firing of these people and give Democrats and Republicans a chance to continue to negotiate out the budget?
Glad you asked, because the Democrats are concerned about health care. I'm very much concerned. I'm the person who was censured, not silenced, because I told the president at a joint session of Congress he had no mandate to cut Medicaid. Democrats have the opportunity now to call this to the attention of the public. The people need to know. They're going to find out when they get these notices that their health care insurance is going to go up, their co-pays are going to go up, their premiums are going to go up. But Democrats are doing what we need to do to help make sure people get their health care needs met. The Republicans keep saying we're the holdup, but they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. The House and the Senate can pass legislation that would allow them to take up these bills if they choose to. It is up to them to do that. That's their business. They have the House and the Senate. We don't have control of these things. So they should stop saying that they have to have us, because they don't. There's no requirement that we do one thing to open the government up. They can do it if they choose to. They choose not to because it's not important to them. When it was important to them to put Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, they changed the rules to do it. When it's important for them to get nominees, as they did yesterday, they changed the rules to do it. When they find that this becomes important to them, they'll change the rules and they'll do it. And the president will say, well, you know, I'm a big hero now. I've changed the rules to do what the Democrats wouldn't allow us to do. But the Democrats are not holding them up. They could have done it when they took the first vote if they had chosen to.
Let me ask you a side strategy question here, though, also, that the talk about the premiums going up for health insurance and all of that, a lot predict that they're already getting they are already getting letters saying that their premiums are going up. And over that 7-week period, if the government were back opened under the CR, a lot more people would be hearing about their premiums going up. And that in effect would then help the Democratic cause, because then the voters out there would be seeing what's happening. So if you're in the CR, then the people may come behind you to help move forward the idea that they've got to look at health care as opposed to this government shutdown. Your thoughts on that strategic point?
Well, this helps the people. We're not talking about helping the Democrats. We will be helping people who need this health insurance. If you live long enough, you will need Medicaid, because Medicaid will provide your long-term hospitalization insurance once you get on Medicare. So Medicaid is important to everybody. Aside from that, when these premiums are going up, they'll be going up in part because people have been locked out. If you leave people who are on Medicaid, lock them out, they'll be going to hospitals. So you'll have to get your general practitioner services at a hospital. But also the people who are off of the insurance because they can't afford the premiums will now go into a separate pool. And the people who stay on the insurance, who are paying premiums, their premiums are going to go up too. So this impacts everybody. But the important point to remember is this, because it hasn't been said, I'm saying it today, that the Republicans have the authority and the power to change this tomorrow, today, in fact. All they have to do is decide that they'll do what they did when they put Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, when they just yesterday passed a large number of nominees in block because they want to do it. This is not something they want to do because the president wants to fire people and he wants to have an excuse, and he's going to use the excuse that they're non-essential. And how do I know they're non-essential? This is the president speaking. Because other persons have said so. He does now have his hands clean, and he can become the hero who comes in later on and does exactly what I'm saying now. Eventually, that's what Republicans will do. They will change the rules and they'll go on.
Well, Mr. Green, Sylvia Garcia was here. She said that she's on the Affordable Care Act. Are you on the Affordable Care Act? Is that where you get your insurance?
Well, yes, we all get our insurance through the same source.
So why would they want to shoot themselves in the foot if they're all on this, and yet they don't want to support it? I don't get where the Republicans are coming from when they want to cause detriment to the Affordable Care Act and Medicare and Medicaid, unless, like you say, this has an entire ulterior motive.
Well, it is a scheme. Dr. King had a dream. They have a scheme. And the scheme is let this linger so that they can terminate people. And at some point, they can open the government up by doing what I've said they can do. Now, people who need the subsidies are persons who are not in the class of people that, let me say I'm in. And I by the way, I'm the guy who informed payroll that they should not send me any money until this shutdown has been resolved. So I'm not getting paid. Now, back to your question. These persons like Al Green and others who are members of Congress, they don't need the subsidies. We're not getting subsidies. We are buying our insurance through the Affordable Care Act, only in the sense that we need insurance, but we're not getting subsidies. My insurance is not subsidized.
Let me ask you another side question about healthcare, too. There's a lot of talk that part of the reason that the Republicans are standing opposed to what the Democrats want is that it's health care for undocumented people in our country. What is the truth behind that? What is the fallacy behind that?
I'm so pleased you asked that question. The law does not allow undocumented persons to get health care, to get the insurance. Here's what it does allow. And I support this, by the way. I'm not speaking for anybody except myself and the people who agree with me. I don't speak for the Democratic Party. I'm a liberated Democrat, unbought, unbossed, unafraid, liberated Democrat. Here is the truth. If you go to the emergency room and you don't have insurance, they're not going to kick you out. And I don't want them to kick anyone out. Whether you're documented or undocumented, this is Al Green's position. Campaign against me for saying this, not other Democrats. I think that people who have been hurt in an auto accident, they get to the emergency room, I think we have to give them health care. That's what the emergency room is for, to help people who have found themselves in need of emergency care. I want them to get that care. So people who differ with me, I understand. Meet me at the polls. I put my reputation on the line. I think America is a country where we want to give emergency care to people regardless as to where they're from, how they got here, what they've done. After all, if we are engaged in mortal combat with you and we wound you, after we wound you, we're going to give you aid and comfort. That would include medical care. If you're robbing a bank and we should capture you and in the process harm you, hurt you in the process, we're going to give you aid and comfort. So we can give aid and comfort to people that are bank robbers and trying to kill us in mortal combat. Surely we can give aid and comfort to a person who's been in an auto accident, makes his or her way to the hospital, to get emergency care. I support that.
Well, Mr. Green,
that is what they're talking about.
I completely agree with you. However, there is the whole anchor baby situation of women crossing the border, getting into an American emergency room, and having to be taken care of, and then having their child on American soil and having birthright citizenship. And there's some suggestion that the Republicans don't like. They tried to get rid of birthright citizenship, haven't been able to do that, and so this is really their way of getting rid of people just going into the ER and having babies from across the border. Am I wrong on that?
Well, they do want to get rid of birthright citizenship, but they've got many reasons for wanting to do that. And I'm not sure that you want to go into that right now, but I'll just give you a sample of what my thoughts are on it. They want to get rid of birthright citizenship in part because they are doing their very best to maintain America as a majority white country. They are trying their very best to prevent this from becoming a majority minority country. That's why you see them doing a lot of these things that are very harmful. Birthright citizenship is something that's in the Constitution. They want to change that, yes, but they want to change it for many reasons. Maybe because of persons coming here and having babies and getting medical care, maybe, but also because they want to maintain the majority white population in this country. And I would add this, the number of people who get that kind of health care compared to the number of people who are on Medicaid is very small. So do we now deny all of the people who legitimately, as they would see it, deserve Medicaid? We deny them Medicaid so that we can punish a few people. I don't think we punish all of the American people who deserve and need Medicaid because Republicans think that a few people who are getting these benefits, and they shouldn't, if that's what is happening as they say it, they shouldn't, then I would say to you, I don't abide with that. I think we're going to protect Medicaid. By the way, Democrats haven't said, let's change birthright citizenship in any way. They're the ones who want to change it. Birthright citizenship is something that's in the Constitution. And by the way, this Supreme Court may do anything. My hope is that they'll follow the law as it has been upheld over these many years since it was placed in the Constitution.
Okay, we want to move on to the National Guard. How do you feel about the National Guard, our Texas National Guard, being sent to Chicago?
I don't feel good about it. I think the Texas National Guard has a primary responsibility of working here in Texas. I think that the president is doing what he is doing when he should be doing something else. And here's that something else. If you really want to help all of these municipalities with crime, why not fund a budget that will allow more police officers to do what needs to be done if that's what you really want to see done? He doesn't want to see the cities get the additional funds that they need to fight crime. He wants to send in the military so that at some point he can claim some sort of victory that will be temporary at best because they're going to bring the National Guard out. He'll claim some sort of victory that will be temporary, and then that helps his ego. The president is an egomaniacal person. He has to have his ego stroked regularly. And when you see him in these staff meetings with the members of the cabinet, everybody's got to tell him how great he is. Well, Mr. President, you're another human being like me and everybody else, and you're not great. You're really a person who believes that might makes right, and that's what you do. You use the might to determine what is right, and most of the time it seems to me you're wrong.
We are speaking with U.S. Congressman Al Green, who represents Texas 9th. And if you'd like to join the conversation, you can call or text us, 713-440-8870. We did get a text from Jen in Clear Lake who says, tell Al Green that he has a lot of love here in Clear Lake. He seems like the smartest man in Congress.
Well, I wouldn't say that. My mother would love her, however. My mother would really embrace you fondly. But here's the point. We have not made the case. I would say I have not made the case. I'll take the responsibility for this, for letting people know the truth about how these rules work here. We change the rules when we want to do something. If we don't want to do it, we say the rules won't allow it. That's what's happening in the Senate right now. The Senate is stalled because Republicans don't want to change these rules. This president has said that he's going to release people. And people understand that that is inappropriate because it was under his watch that we passed a law that said people who are furloughed during these shutdowns, that they will get paid. Not only does the president not want to pay them, he wants to release them. This is a hard-hearted person who does this. This is a hard-hearted person. People don't do that kind of thing when they institute the very rule that would protect people.
Speaking of making changes, redistricting here in the state of Texas, you are part of that plan. Talk to me a little bit about your feelings on that.
Well, and here are my feelings. The President of the United States sent the Justice Department a note. The Justice Department then contacted the state of Texas. I got the letters in my hand. Here is a letter from the United States Justice Department to the governor and to the Attorney General. And in this letter, the very last line, you can read it if you'd like. It's online, but it says, if the state of Texas fails to rectify racial gerrymandering of Texas 9, that's the district that I currently represent, Texas 18, that was represented by Jackson Lee and lately Sylvester Turner, who had his untimely demise, in my opinion. The 29th, that's Sylvia Garcia, and 33rd, which is Mark Veazey in Dallas. Okay, they say that this was racially gerrymandered. That's what the president and the Justice Department said to the state of Texas. Well, here's the state of Texas's response. State of Texas, in bold print, indicated the evidence at the trial was clear and unequivocal. The Texas legislature did not pass race-based electoral districts for any of those three political maps, meaning the maps that we currently have. The Texas legislature is saying no. Senator Hoffman testified that it was not race-based, and she said it was to maximize Republican political advantage. Texas said, we don't do business like that. And in fact, Texas has now had to read this article in the Houston Chronicle, style Texas GOP, I have it right here, Texas GOP officials shy away from initial redistricting rationale in new filing. Here's a salient point. Texas officials acknowledged in a new court filing that the Justice Department rationale, that's what I gave to you earlier, their rationale, race-based gerrymandering, that the Justice Department's rationale this summer for pushing them to redraw state congressional maps was flawed. The flaw is they were alleging that they were done to benefit, the lines were drawn to benefit people of color, racial gerrymandering. And this statement that they made brought race into question. That's why we have contended that this race question is something that has to be litigated. It is racist to do what Texas is said to have done, and they didn't do it. Texas didn't do that. We now have this lawsuit, and I think we should win the lawsuit. I hope we will.
For a point of clarity there, it is legal to gerrymander when it's along political lines, but it is illegal, if I'm reading the law correctly, to gerrymander along racial lines, and that's why this is an issue.
That's in the Voting Rights Act. You are eminently correct. And the state of Texas says we didn't do that. We gerrymandered for political reasons, which is constitutional now. At one time it wasn't, but it is now.
So that's in El Paso, at a courtroom in El Paso right now?
In a courtroom in El Paso where my lawyer is right now. Gary Bledsoe is my lawyer. He's there. Dr. Murray is my demographer. He's been there to testify. I have testified. We have a good case. Now, whether the state of Texas is going to honor this, I don't know, but we have a very good case. After all, you got to remember this. Texas is a state that had white-only primaries. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court because of a dentist in Houston, Texas named Lonnie Smith. He took the case to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, Texas, you cannot have white-only primaries. That is unconstitutional. Texas said, okay, we agree with you. We won't have white-only primaries. We will now have white-only pre-primaries. Literally, pre-primaries for whites only. This is what the state of Texas has done. So this gerrymandering that they're doing now to keep minority people from having the rights, the same rights to vote and select candidates of their choice as others. This is not anything new. Texas has been a state that has discriminated against minorities for a very long time.
So I know you have to go.
I don't have to go. I'm here until you say it's over.
Okay.
Well, then you're here for the whole rest of the afternoon.
I was going to give you a yes or no answer question, but you might want to elaborate. Is Mike Johnson lying to us?
Well, I'm not going to call him a. I'd never say that a person is doing that. I will say sometimes that a person may be prevaricating, and sometimes people engage in insidious prevarications. So maybe this is prevarications of some sort, but it may be that he just doesn't understand. I like the speaker, and it's hard for me to say that he is doing what you have said, but he is clearly wrong, and he knows that he's wrong. Listen. Here's what you need to do. Call up the senators. Call anybody in the Senate that you want and ask them, can they change the rules and pass their so-called clean bill without any Democrats voting for it? Can they do it with 51 votes? I challenge you to do it, and I dare any one of them to say, no, they cannot. If they say it, bring us both on, and I'll debate them right on your program, because they can do it. They have the power. They have the House and the Senate, and it only takes a majority vote once they change the rules to do what they want to do, and they've got more than a majority of the senators.
Congressman, while we're talking about the speaker, I'm concerned about the not swearing in of the Arizona Democrat who won her seat.
I am too.
What is your understanding of the delay? Now, I know, of course, with the government being shut down, I do believe he can still swear her in outside of full session functioning. Is that correct or not? Or does it have to be back
I believe
in
he
session?
can. That's my belief as well. But we do know that if that happens, then that becomes a 218th vote to deal with another issue that is being eschewed.
And that is the release of the Epstein files for people who aren't.
I wasn't going to say it, but
I'll
yes.
say it. Yeah.
Okay. Look, it is obvious that the speaker is avoiding the release of these files. The president doesn't want these files released. The president put people in place for many reasons, but some of these people are in place because they are the people who would have the street cred to tell the people who have been now for many, many months saying, let's see the files. These people have the street cred to say there's nothing to see. So he put them in place. But the people who want to see the files are ignoring the street cred of the people who are in place that are making these statements. People want to know what happened. And it really, at this point, I want to know what happened. This had been something that was not on my radar as something that was seriously in need of my spending a lot of time on. But now, given what I've heard about the possibility of Epstein blackmailing people, you heard that just recently from a very prominent person, given what we have seen as it relates to his palace that he had out on the island and how people were brought in and, for periods of time and things were happening, including they were getting these massages and other things, I suppose. I don't know what the other things were. But in any event, I think I want to know what happened too. So let's have the files. And don't say that there is nothing here, so you don't need to see the files. If you say there's nothing here, then show me the files and I can draw my own conclusions about what's there.
All right, we have a call for you, sir. Bob from West Houston is on the line. Bob, what's your question for Representative Green?
Representative Green, I want to congratulate you on the energy and enthusiasm you're bringing to the current situation. However, we're on an autocrat path, okay? The legislature and the courts have fallen already, and we see the military being deployed to the street. We're in a serious situation in the United States. I need to hear much more crying of where the path is. Is the 2026 election even certain? It looks like the 2028 election season might be off the books. Your thoughts, sir?
I'm not sure if you could hear that. Did you hear him, or do you want me to recap?
I did hear it.
Okay.
I did, and I'm pleased to give a response. We have a president who incited an insurrection. He would differ. That's my opinion. I speak for myself and everybody who agrees with me. But when you have people who have various instrumentalities that indicate that they don't mean anybody the best of good, if I can say it this way. They don't mean anybody to treat people well when you've got a noose and you've got gallows and you're saying that you're looking for people to harm them, and you break down doors and you crash into the building, and you then come in and defecate and you take things as you leave. And these people had us frightened. I was right here in this office with the doors locked, with our cell phones turned on silent so that they wouldn't know where we were or that we were in here. We were in this room and we were very much concerned about our safety and well-being. So in my opinion, it was an insurrection. They incited this insurrection. I say they, the president was a principal person in charge of doing it. And after doing that, the president was, he was impeached. But the president who did that once to try to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, and that's what he was trying to do. The president who did that once, in my opinion, is likely to do it again. And this time, he'll have caused us to accept the notion that it's okay to have military troops on the streets of America in their military vehicles, to be armed with long guns. We are being right now put in a position such that we will accept things that we would never have accepted prior to this president's coming into office and doing what he's doing with the National Guard. We would never have accepted it. And now he's talking about using the actual military in our cities, which is in contravention of the Constitution. There's no insurrection going on that I'm aware of. I've tried to chronicle the news on a daily basis, and I know of no insurrection. So my point is, yes, to the gentleman that called in, this president is a person who, in my opinion, is going to consider, whether he does it or not, he will consider staying on beyond his term of office. Or he will try to do something clever like running for vice president with his current vice president running as president, just the same as Putin did it when he was out of office for a term in Russia. He'll try to pull something like that. He has, in my opinion, no intentions of leaving office as he should at the end of his term.
I want to remind everyone we're speaking with Democratic Congressman Al Green, who represents the Texas 9th. And our number here, 713-440-8870. Kima from the Heights is on the line with another question. Kima, what's on your mind?
Hi, it's Kima.
Kima.
No worries. I just wanted to say first to Mr. Green, he's such an inspiration. You work in the same building as my brother, Marcus Hedman, at the Marcus Hedman Law Firm. And we see you all the time, and we're so proud of you and so grateful that you're fighting for us. But I also wanted to talk about gentrification. Before coming back to Houston, I lived in Brooklyn for 10 years, and I saw how people were priced out and how the neighborhood and the culture was completely scrubbed out. And I'm seeing the same thing for the beautiful culture in the 3rd Ward and 5th Wards. And I was just wondering what is being done and how are we addressing affordable housing? Because I see the big black and white boxy buildings being put up all over the wards, but I also see the people, with being priced out and the culture being changed.
Kima, thank you for that. Representative.
Well, thank you. I support revitalization without gentrification. Revitalization. You can revitalize communities and you don't have to engage in gentrification to get it done. We've seen this happen in at least one part of the city, out in the southern part of the city where I happen to have friends, and it is within my congressional district. What are we doing? Yes, affordability is a real issue. Affordability is an issue because we have a supply shortage, and we need millions of new homes constructed. To build these millions of new homes, I think we're going to have to relax some standards so that builders can build efficaciously, effectively, but also do it quickly. We have to have more homes on the market. If we just leave the market as it is now, that is not going to solve the long-term problem. So we need more housing. But we also have to deal with people who are buying up homes in large tracts. They buy up the homes, and after they buy the homes, And when they buy them, by the way, they're taking them off the market. They are not going to be sold to persons who are first-time home buyers, by way of example. And once they get these homes, then they rent them. And they have the ability, because they're buying at such a large scale, to manipulate the pricing such that people will now pay for rent what they would be paying if they were purchasing the home and had a mortgage. So we've got to deal with that situation. We cannot let people just buy up all of the houses that become available so that they can do what I consider price setting. And then the final thing is we do have to subsidize some people who want to buy homes in some of the high cost areas. And we can subsidize everywhere, but in some places you've got to subsidize more than others. There are some places where a starter home will cost you $300,000 or more. That's just a starter home. But in other places, not so much. The point is the government has to be involved in these things. Democrats in the main, I'm not speaking for all of them, Democrats in the main believe in using the government to help people. My Republican colleagues want very little government, and they believe that the rich need more to do more, and the poor can do more with less. They believe that the rich have needs that require them to have more money so that they can do more things. But poor people can do more with less. That's why we would cut health care such that Medicaid is being cut. This benefits poor people. And the overwhelming majority of the people on getting Medicaid are people who were born right here in this country. So my Republican colleagues, to eliminate some people that they believe shouldn't get it, would punish people who are born in this country, the majority of whom were born in this country. Housing is important. Healthcare is important. Democrats care about housing, healthcare, Social Security, minimum wage. All of these are things that help people have a better quality of life. These are the things that Democrats brought into being. It was a Democrat that gave us minimum wages. It was a Democratic president signed that into law. Democratic president signed Medicare into law, signed Medicaid into law, signed Social Security into law. The Democrats want to help people, and they believe government is a means by which it can be done. And if ever people are no longer receiving a minimum wage, lose their health care, they will value what Democrats did to get us to the point that we are now, that is being dissipated in a sense by this president, because he has a different point of view as to how government should be engaged in the lives of people.
713-440-8870.
Yes, we have another call on the line, Representative. This is from Jesse in the Cypress area. Jesse, what's your question or comment for Representative Green?
Thank you very much. Hello, Houston. Representative Green, thank you for being on and educating us. I'm a retired school principal and administrator and professor who teaches citizenship in my educational leadership classes. I was at the first Poor People's Campaign in Resurrection City in 1968, so I'm old. And I went in the current Poor People's Campaign with Bishop Barber, and we visited all the House and Senate representatives in 2023, and you were one of them. And we appreciate you supporting us in the Church Without Walls in Houston, Texas. In our research with the Poor People's Campaign, recent research, we know what the minimum wages are in at least 36 states. And we know that Bishop Barber said that we need $23 an hour in Texas just to live, for poor people to live. And I'd like you to just elaborate. You started already a little bit. I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on that and the plight of poor people and people are working 2 and 3 jobs to get that $23 an hour. But our minimum wage is still a paltry sum down near the bottom.
Yes, I concur with what you've said. Bishop Barber is one of my favorite people. I love him. He is well-read, well-spoken, and ready to take on the challenges of our time. I believe that the minimum wage has to be indexed. We should not have to go through this process of trying to cajole persons into doing what I believe to be the right thing, and that is make sure that people have a living wage. So if we're going to have a living wage, we should index the minimum wage. It can be indexed to many things. I have a piece of bill entitled the Living American Wage Act. the LAW Act, the Living American Wage Act. And in that, we index the minimum wage such that index means affix it to something so that when that thing goes up, then the minimum wage will go up. And we have used a formula that we received from one of our well-known institutions, educational institutions. I believe it's MIT that we used for our minimum wage, a formula that they constructed. And this way, the minimum wage will go up and people won't have to work full time and live at and sometimes below the poverty line. Literally, that happens in this country. No one should work full time and live at or near the poverty line. You should be able to take care of yourself and you should be able to support a family member if you are working full time. That's what Democrats are all about, helping people have a living wage so that people can take care of themselves and a family. This country was built on hard work. The hard work. Won't get into all of who were involved in the hard work, but hard work. And hard work made a difference. We've gotten to a point now where you can work hard, you can work full time, and you can still work near the poverty line or make wages that are near the poverty line. That has to change. The CEOs in this country are making millions a year on a yearly basis. They make millions. The people who are working and cleaning the rooms that the CEOs walk into, the night shift, those persons are making, some of them maybe $10 an hour. Some of them are making $7.25 an hour. We've got to change that. So I stand with you in indexing the minimum wage so that people will work full time and live well above the poverty line, be able to take care of themselves.
One area a lot of people believe helps with that is education. I'm curious your views and feelings on how the federal government is treating higher education in our country today.
Well, if we're talking about the way the president is treating higher education, and he thinks of himself as a government, just as an aside, I'm going to come to this. This president was made above the law by the Supreme Court. He now believes, however, that he is the law. The president literally believes that what he says is the law. And if a judge differs with him, he wants the judge impeached. And just today, I heard a senator saying that a judge who differed with the president with a ruling, that judge ought to be impeached. We had to get the Supreme Court Justice, the Chief Justice, John Roberts, to say to the president, Mr. President, we don't impeach judges because they give us opinions that we don't like. We appeal. We appeal. That's what we do. Now, with reference to higher education, I brought it up because of this point about the judges, because the Congress has not done its job. And I say the Congress, I'm speaking more about the Republicans, not Democrats. Republicans have just let the president have his way. Whatever he wants, he can get it. Is this too much, Mr. President? Do we need to do more for you? They have just literally thrown in the towel. And the Supreme Court seems to be giving the president more authority than he deserves as a person who is in charge of 300 million people. So in the sense that he's our leader. But with reference to these colleges, the president has literally decided that he will determine what is going to be taught, how it's going to be taught. Don't teach about slavery. We say too much about slavery in this country. Slavery in Texas was thought to be by some involuntary relocation. There was a movement in Texas to have slavery become involuntary relocation. The president would have agreed with that. But slavery was not involuntary relocation. And these institutions of higher education have to speak truth about our history. They cannot allow the president to change the history simply because he doesn't want the darker side of our history to be exposed. Well, it has to be, because for more than 240 years, people of African ancestry worked without a payday. They had a hand in building the White House, hand in building the Capitol, built roads and bridges, planted seeds, harvested the crops, fed the nations. This nation, they were the economic foundational mothers and fathers of this country. They have not been recognized as such. America is the great country it is because it had 240 years of free labor, free. I have to say it multiple times because some things bear repeating. And the president hasn't recognized them. He would have us now decide that somehow that just really didn't happen the way it did. Well, it did happen the way it did. It was about rape, and it was about kidnapping. It was about doing dastardly deeds on a daily basis to people who were meaning us no harm. They were here working and being subservient. So we have to change that. We have to change that, and we can change it by giving them the honor they deserve. And the honor that they deserve is at least what we did for Confederate soldiers in 1956. In 1956, the Congress of the United States of America awarded a congressional gold medal to Confederate soldiers, a congressional gold medal to the enslavers, nothing for the enslaved. We haven't done anything of note to show our appreciation for more than 240 years of lives that were sacrificed. People were born into slavery. They lived their lives as a slave, and they died as a slave for 240 years. So that's the history that the president would not have us learn or be taught at an institution like Harvard or some of these other institutions that he has taken on. And I respect Harvard for at least fighting back. Some of the others did not.
We can't thank you enough for being here on Hello Houston today, Representative Green. We have to leave it there. We're the ones that have to go now. But thank you so much, and keep up the good fight, and good luck, and come back often.
Well, may I just simply say thank you to both of you for allowing me on. Liberated Democrats are not as welcomed as you have made me feel welcome today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, I'm going to talk about my golf tournament that's next week, and you'll meet some special guests from Legacy Community Health. Stay with us. This is News 88.7.
With federal support gone, Houston Public Media needs a stronger foundation for the future. The Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund is our response to ensure this service remains strong, stable, and community-powered. Your gift today helps us stay on the air tomorrow and the day after that. Give now to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
For Houston Public Media comes from Good Reason Houston, working to ensure every child in every Houston neighborhood has access to a strong public school that prepares them for opportunities and a living wage after graduation. More at goodreasonhouston.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Frank Billingsley.
All right, for over 40 years, Legacy Community Health has operated as a full-service healthcare system, offering adults and senior primary care, pediatrics, specialty care, pharmacy services, and much more. And in 2015, Legacy entered a partnership with Yes Prep Schools and began serving students by providing behavioral health services and primary care. Since then, more than 30 underserved schools now have pediatric health clinics located on campuses offering primary, behavioral health, and psychiatric services during school hours. I'm proud of this because since 2010, my Frank Billingsley Golf Classic has raised millions of dollars to help fund these school health programs. And to tell us more, we welcome Legacy Community Health's Vice President of Operations, Stephanie Ramirez, and Vivian Guzman, who is the Senior Director of School-Based Therapy. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good
How are
morning.
you guys?
All right,
Afternoon, I would say.
All right. Representative Green, we loved having him. He took a lot of time. Stephanie, tell us what's going on here.
Well, we have our upcoming golf tournament this Monday. We only have 7 spots left.
Okay, good.
But I am the Vice President of Operations for School-Based Health. I've been with Legacy for 3 years. We have clinics inside 39 campuses.
39?
39.
So, I mean, each clinic costs like $300,000 to even get going.
Yeah, that's staff. So what a lot of folks don't know is that Legacy puts forth the cost to start these up. The schools provide the space. We provide clinical supplies, medical supplies, staffing, everything that we need to make sure that our kiddos are taken care of.
I think this would come as rather eye-opening to a lot of people who just assume the school districts, the government, they fund health in schools. But I guess that isn't the case then.
No. it is not. It is operational costs to Legacy. And so what the golf tournament does for us is it helps offset some of those expenses that we incur to make sure that we go into communities that are underserved where children and their siblings and the children of the staff would otherwise not get high quality health care.
Well, you said 39 schools. You must be talking about tens of thousands of students.
We served. We completed over 72,000 appointments last year.
Wow, yeah. Vivian, tell us what you do with Legacy and how it's affecting these schools.
First of all, thank you for having us. I'm so excited to share. I am Senior Director for the Therapy Services in School-Based Health. So we have the opportunity to provide mental health in schools to the students so they don't have to leave their school campuses, so the parents don't have to leave their work, and they can just come to therapy while in between their classes. It's an honor because I have served with Legacy over 10 years in the clinic side, and being part of school-based health allows us to save the family's time and to give access to those students to mental health services they so much need.
And how is it affecting, this is behavioral health, which, as we know, with schools, that's so important. But what about just kids who need, an aspirin or any other kind of help?
Yeah, so if a kiddo has stomach ache, headache, is not feeling well, we have nurse practitioners and medical assistants inside the school. And so they'll see the nurse. The referrals come through the nurse, the front desk, the attendance office. And if they're not feeling well, we have a nurse practitioner. And if they're not on site, we do virtual visits. So we have cameras where our medical assistant will set up the student to see one of our nurse practitioners virtually. And if they're not feeling well, but we're able to give them aspirin or take care of the situation there in school, they can go back to class. If they've tested, so we do testing also for flu and COVID and other things, and we also do in-house vaccines.
Talk a tiny bit about the need that's still out there.
So we are, like I said, only in 39 locations. Yes Prep has an additional. I think they have 27 total locations. And so we are in 21 now of the 27 locations, and Galena Park has 27 schools. They are our first school district that we partnered with, and we are in 4 of their 26 locations. And so there's a lot of areas that, again, we just opened 2 new schools in the Hobby Airport area, and that one is very near and dear to my heart because I was raised just across the freeway from that area. And so being able to go in these communities where you look around and there aren't any clinics in the community, like Vivian was saying, parents don't have to leave work for us to see their children. We get consent to treat. And if they do have to be dismissed because they tested positive for flu or what have you, we call a pharmacy near their home. They pick the child up, and by the time they get home, their prescription is ready.
And I want to pitch in there. I feel like there was such a powerful messages about serving the communities of Houston, the minorities and the immigrants. We have Lorena Motu with us, who just was able to connect, and she can talk a little bit about reaching out to those communities.
Well, I can imagine that the school systems love having us there, right?
Yes.
And the communities too, because we all remember going to the doctor's office when we were in school.
Or we didn't go because our parents couldn't get out of work. It's like, we'll bring you home, take a nap, and you'll be okay.
Well, what's the future? We're going to play golf, raise some money?
Play golf, raise some money. The more we raise, the more we get to open. The interesting thing is we're also looking at Beaumont. So we just recently had conversations about opening a school clinic in that area, and it's very much in need, and so we're very excited about that. But the more support that we have, the more ability we have to expand.
All right. Stephanie Ramirez is Vice President of Operations at Legacy Community Health. Vivian Guzman is Legacy's Senior Director of School-Based Therapy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I'll see you on the links on Monday.
See you on Monday, bright and early.
Okay.
Thank you.
Coming up, we'll continue to dive into today's top stories. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from John Moore, helping with plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning repairs, including out-of-warranty units since 1965. Details at 730-2525 or at johnmooreservices.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from ROCO, opening the Unchambered series featuring flutist Brooke Ferguson and Rebecca Powell Garfield, October 11th at St. Philip Presbyterian Church. Tickets at roco.org.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
This afternoon, we have a 30% chance of a shower or thunderstorm, mainly after 5 p.m., otherwise mostly sunny today, and 93 the high. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low near 75, and a chance of a shower. Your NPR station, KUHF, Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Janine Herbst. Former FBI Director James Comey has pleaded not guilty to 2 criminal charges in a Virginia courtroom today. He was charged last month with lying to Congress 5 years ago after President Trump demanded federal prosecutors speed up their investigation into one of his most prominent critics. NPR's Carrie Johnson was in the courtroom and has more.
President Trump had publicly urged the Justice Department to bring
Comey requested a jury trial, and the judge scheduled it for January 5th. In California, authorities arrested 29-year-old Jonathan Rinderneck for allegedly starting what became the devastating Pacific Palisades fire in January that left 12 people dead, more than 23,000 acres burned, and thousands of structures destroyed. Officials say he started an earlier fire that wasn't suppressed, and that became the Palisades fire. He was arrested near his home in Florida and will have an appearance in a courtroom in Orlando this afternoon. Kenny Cooper is ATF Los Angeles Special Agent in charge. He says the investigation continues.
Although we cannot share every detail of this investigation, it is still an active investigation, and judicial proceedings remain ahead.
There's no word on a motive. Air traffic control staffing issues delayed flights across the U.S. for a second straight day yesterday. NPR's Joel Rose reports the head of the controllers union says pressure is mounting as the government shutdown enters its second week.
The Federal Aviation Administration says staffing shortages have caused delays at a growing list of airports, including Nashville, Chicago O'Hare, Newark, Houston, and Dallas. Nearly 11,000 certified air traffic controllers are required to work during the government shutdown, but don't get paid until it ends. The head of the union that represents those controllers, Nick Daniels, told NPR's Morning Edition that the shutdown is making a difficult situation worse.
The longer that this lasts, it's going to place a continued strain on air traffic controllers, the stress, the pressure.
Daniels says the U.S. was already thousands of air traffic controllers short before the government shutdown. Joel Rose, NPR News, Washington.
Top officials from the U.S., Qatar, and Israel and talking right now, joining a third day of talks between Israel and Hamas in Egypt. Negotiators are tackling the toughest part of a U.S. peace plan to end the war in Gaza. Hamas wants guarantees from President Trump that Israel won't resume its military campaign after Hamas releases the rest of the hostages. Meanwhile, the Israeli military has intercepted a 9-boat flotilla in the Mediterranean Sea, detaining activists who are trying to break Israel's blockade on Gaza and deliver much-needed humanitarian aid. You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. The government shutdown could have real impacts for Houston area travelers soon. The FAA sent a warning last night about possible ground stops at both Bush and Hobby airports. It didn't happen, but Nancy Sims, a political science professor at the University of Houston, says air traffic controllers are getting antsy without a guaranteed paycheck.
There aren't enough of them to begin with, as we've seen all year. And then secondly, there's a higher rate of them calling in sick because they have to figure out how to pay their bills And so you're seeing they can't afford childcare, et cetera, when they have no paycheck.
Sims was a guest on Houston Matters this morning. Houston is one of several cities around the country warning of slowed air travel. Houston ISD plans to prioritize their in-house news show, HISD Now. A draft of HISD's district improvement plan outlines goals to, quote, market HISD Now to a broader audience. News 88.7's Bianca Seward has more.
The broadcast, which is posted to YouTube, launched in February.
Hey there, HISD, and thanks for logging on. A lot to get to in today's video.
It's run by the district's communications team. HISD budgets approximately $2 million for HISD Now and plans to raise, quote, philanthropic funds for any additional costs as it expands, according to a draft of the district improvement plan. The plan includes upping their YouTube subscriber count to 50,000 and expanding their breaking and mobile news footprint. In late September, HISD announced the termination and reassignment of hundreds of teachers through their HISD Now YouTube channel. In a statement, HISD said they will continue to distribute press releases and announcements to media partners, as well as hold press conferences, facilitate interviews, and provide access when possible. I'm Bianca Seward, News 88.7.
The Houston Astros have announced that both manager Joe Espada and general manager Dana Brown will return next season despite not making the playoffs. Espada just wrapped up his second season as the Astros manager. Brown was hired shortly before that. The Astros finished this season 3 games behind the Seattle Mariners. Right now it's 86 degrees on the University of Houston campus. Slight chance of showers today, around 30%. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Charles Schwab, offering investors choices like full-service wealth management, advice, investing, and trading on Thinkorswim. Learn more at schwab.com. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Hello, second hour.
Hello. Wow, that was intense.
We had, for those of you who are just joining us now, Representative Al Green was on the line with us, calling in from Washington. He gave us plenty of time and was taking people's calls. So that's, I think, one of the great things about this show is the opportunity to bring in our elected officials and then open up those phone lines. So if you feel like there was areas that weren't being addressed or we weren't going a direction you wanted to go, always feel free to call in and join the conversation, regardless of who our guests are. We're always open. We're always interested in what you have to say.
Yeah, and it's nice because obviously we're public television and radio, and we have sponsors. But when I was with commercial TV, by God, you got to get those commercials played,
right?
Or you don't make money. And so it's nice to have the flexibility that when someone like Al Green says, "I'll stay as long as you want," we can say, "Okay, well, let's just keep talking," because you don't really have that luxury like in commercial television like you do on NPR, which is one of the great reasons people should continue to support us.
Don't get us wrong. To our underwriters that got shifted because the segment went long,
get it in.
We'll feed them in.
We get it in. I know,
but
that's why people should support NPR.
Right before we begin the hour, always Alexandra Hart gives you the news, and we had a comment in our YouTube group that says, "Thank you for today's news update" to Alexandra Hart, and we thank Alexandra for covering the news for us, which helps us better understand what we're going to be talking about throughout the hour of our show as we try and bring the news into a more conversational manner for you.
Yeah, little weather. Jerry is out there still. Tropical storm. It doesn't look like it's going to be too much of a problem for most people. 60-mile-an-hour sustained winds right now, and it's going to stay over water. Mm-hmm. So, bring some high waves probably to parts of the Caribbean islands and maybe Bermuda, but that's really about it.
Yeah.
So that's good. And we have a front coming, which means we're going to see a nice cool down by Thursday evening.
Okay, we talked about this before. I started about 3 weeks ago asking you what the weather was going to be like this weekend because I'm doing an outdoor movie night.
And
Saturday night.
What did I say?
I don't remember.
Oh, gosh. I said it was going to be great.
And are you accurate still?
It's going to be, am I accurate? Yeah, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be great. On Saturday night, is that where you're looking?
Saturday evening.
The high's it's going to be clear. Sunny day, beautiful weekend coming up, and lows are going to be in the 60s. Highs will be in the upper 80s. So once we get, what time is your little movie?
8 o'clock, 8 till 11.
What are you showing?
We're showing Son of Frankenstein and Young Frankenstein.
Okay, from 8 to 11, the temperature's going to
I don't
drop.
know why he needs to know what movies to give me the
Temperature's going to
weather.
drop from 82 to 75.
A little, not quite blanket weather, but a little sweater weather maybe.
It'll be pleasant.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Also, if you are wondering, where is Celeste? Celeste took the day off today, but she'll be back with us, I assume, tomorrow.
Yep.
To play in our radio playground. So, but as we always do, I usually at this point turn to Celeste and say, Celeste, what are the headlines? But today I'm turning to Frank and saying, Frank, what's the headlines?
And of course I have this because it's such bad news.
Yeah, that's why we gave it to you.
I know. The section of the westbound I-10 Katy freeway is going to be reduced to 2 lanes beginning later this month until mid-2026. Texas Department of Transportation continues to work on the I-10 White Oak Bayou Elevation Project. They've already reduced it to 3 lanes, so it's already a mess. Here's a little trivia. You know where Studemont Street got its name, Studemont?
No.
Well, Studewood used to be its own street.
Right.
And Montrose was its own street. And then they connected Montrose and Studemont, and it became Studewood. Studemont.
Studemont,
They connected Studewood and Montrose, it became Studemont.
That's fascinating.
But it's only like 1/10 of a mile. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Why didn't they just call it Montrose or Studewood? But anyway. All right. The phase of construction lasts until mid-2026 as part of that White Oak Bayou elevation. It will include the relocation of the Houston Avenue Bridge underneath the newly elevated I-10. According to TxDOT, the demolition of the current Houston Avenue Bridge is not expected to take place until early 2027, if we all live that long. So what do you think? 713-440-8870. I'm not sure there's much to say, except that just as one traffic problem gets completed, another one is created.
It is a necessary evil in a metropolis like ours, but the problem I sometimes worry about is, are they looking at all of it at once as a holistic thing so that they're always, theoretically, Bob Lanier, many, many years ago, I was at his house and he was talking to me about this very thing, not this particular construction piece, but he was talking about how after there had been a shutdown or a pause in construction, how everyone started at once. And he was lamenting the fact that when he was mayor, you were never allowed to do that. All traffic things had to go through his office to make sure that there were always open routes. If they closed off Road A, Road B had to remain open until done on A. And he felt that wasn't being done. Now today, when I try and get from my house to the Kroger, I feel like, where's Bob Lanier when I need him? Everything is backed up. But there's so many more people in the area, and the infrastructure, I don't know, was ever intended for this many people.
Traffic has gotten really bad.
Yeah.
And it's Alex Garza on our YouTube channel says we need Uber helicopters. Not a bad idea, but would you ever get in one?
All right, before I answer that, 713-440-8870, 8870, that's our number. We're talking traffic. You got to have an opinion on that. Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
I know. What do you think is the worst construction spot in Houston?
Well, I'm going back to your helicopter question.
Helicopter
I am
first.
deathly afraid of helicopters.
Well, I didn't used to be, but I've gotten a little antsy.
Well, so many times we hear stories, and I know people at jobs who don't put in their full effort in it. An airplane, in my mind, and I know physicists don't, or physics professors don't call me up because I know it's not accurate, but I believe even the largest plane, if things go out, it can glide to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
With a helicopter, when those propellers stop spinning, what are your choices?
Well,
you go down.
They say that they they practice rotary, getting the rotary going and try. I know.
I don't trust the mechanics. I don't trust that my ice
There've been
machine
a lot of
is going to give me ice.
helicopter accidents, and some have been survivable, and obviously some not. But it's you're right.
That's what worries me.
There's not a lot between you and the ground.
No, and it scares. A friend and I were in New York City, and he so wanted to take the helicopter ride out and around the Statue of Liberty. And I was like, you can go. I'm not going. I'm not doing it.
Well, that whole family from Spain fell to their death earlier this year.
Yes, and then when that happened, of course, I sent that news story to him and said, see? And he's like, that was like 10 years ago we were in New York and you wouldn't ride the helicopter. But anyway, another story there. Fellwood swears, according to his YouTube comment, I swear Ernie looks like Steve Carell when you see him from a certain camera angle. I've never gotten that one.
I used to get Gene Wilder, and I found that so insulting. And when Dan Quayle was first on the public stage,
I can see Dan
when Dan Quayle like hit the stage in 1992 or whatever it was, everybody was like, "Oh my God, you look like Dan Quayle." It was earlier than that. It was in the mid '80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've gotten Harvey Fierstein a lot over my life. I don't know why.
I met him once. He's delightful, actually.
And so am I. So that must have been what they saw.
He crushed on Kevin a little bit. He and Kevin got a little tight.
Who doesn't? Kevin's adorable. 713-440-8870. Joseph is on the line from Tomball. Joseph, save us from what we're talking about now.
Oh, the traffic is horrible. I drive for a living, and trust me, after 3 o'clock, you can't move nowhere. But I don't know why they don't want to implement the train system here, because they could run one line coming from San Antonio in the middle of I-10 all the way to downtown. We have those empty parking lots that the bus station never use because they're never full. We could use that as a parking lot for people. And then run a train all the way from Dallas, not even from Dallas. It could be from Conroe to downtown. Another train coming from Galveston to downtown, and another train coming from Maryland to downtown.
Joseph, you sound like you have the whole transit system mapped out for us.
I got whole Houston in my mind. I know where one highway begins and when ends, and it's possible.
Yeah.
But you don't want to stop selling cars. That's what happens.
Well, we do have a lot of cars. Joseph, thank you very much for that.
You know who lobbies against that high-speed rail all the time?
Who?
Well, airlines.
Oh, they don't want it.
No.
I would love it. You know, I think that I'm off. Where are we with the Dallas-Houston train? Is that still happening?
No.
Like it's gone.
It's just gone. Nobody ever talks about
folks. It'd be so cool. Okay, 713-440-8870. Katie is on the line from the Heights. Katie, what's on your mind?
Hi, I completely agree with Joseph. We need more multimodal transportation. We need transportation choice. We're going in the right direction with all the infill development we're doing. Our city's growing, but you're right, it'll never accommodate everyone if we all have single occupancy vehicles. So we need to be investing in transit lines, rapid transit, commuter rail. We need to be investing in intercity rail, and just really building up our infrastructure. It's the only way we're going to survive.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you there. Thank you very much, Katie, for that. I have kind of found that when I'm driving now, I have to put myself in a Zen state. It's like, don't get mad at the traffic. Don't get mad at the drivers. We're all frustrated. We're going to get where we're going.
And you never know who has a gun, so behave.
Well, there's that too. Also, the other point is plan your trips if you can around the times. Like from
absolutely.
4 to 7, I don't want to leave my house. I live right outside of downtown, and if I've got to go to the Montrose or off to I-10.
Nicole makes a good point on YouTube. I feel like, yes, the traffic's bad, but it's also bad in every other large city in America. I mean, I've spent 3 hours in an Uber getting from Newark Airport into Manhattan. 3 hours. That's longer than it took me to get from Houston on an airplane to Newark. No, I think we do pretty good. Where do you get 5 lanes on the Katy Freeway in other cities?
You are comparing Manhattan, which I would go out, and maybe L.A., but the worst traffic in the world.
But even from the Queens and LaGuardia, I mean, yes, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But Los Angeles traffic, I've spent, try getting from Los Angeles to Palm Springs on a Friday afternoon.
I wish I could go from L.A.
Well,
to Palm
it'll
Springs.
take you all of Saturday to get there. Trust me. Nicole has a good point.
713-440-8870. Mike from the Heights. Mike, talk to us.
Hey, you guys are hilarious. I think Ernie was talking about you're not feeling safe on a helicopter versus a fixed wing. But if you're on a commercial passenger plane, you're in trouble if the engine stops regardless. That thing is not going to glide.
I know, but Mike, I want to believe it because I often find myself on those planes and I just have to believe it. I know it's not right, but I want to believe.
Well, a lot of times there's a second engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take one engine over 0.
Mike, did we let you get through or did we cut you off too soon?
No, I'm still here. I'm still here if you can hear me.
I can.
Yeah. And I was in the military for like 28 years, flew on a lot of different kinds of aircraft. I wasn't a pilot, but flying. And, if once you get up at a certain elevation, whether you're fixed wing or rotor wing, If the engine goes out, you're done.
Is there? I'm going to pretend you're the expert on this topic. Talk me off the ledge about helicopters. Is there any kind of safety on them if they're not that high up? Is there something they can do?
If you're not that high up, and the engine goes out, it's like transmission in a car. So if you're driving your car and you got a manual, or you can downshift into a lower gear, you can do that with the rotors, right? Which could ease your fall. So if the engine goes out and the pilot's able to essentially shift the rotor control into a lower gear, then that's going to slow the descent a bit, right? But you're still going to have to, if you're, anything really above 600 or 700 feet is going to be problematic when you hit the ground.
Mike,
if you're at 100 to 200, you can probably make it. And
I love that you call it problematic.
Mike, would you ever get in an Uber helicopter?
Oh, no. Well, I would if it was piloted, yes, but not self-driving. I would never do self-driving, automatic, autonomic, or whatever they call it. Anything, car, helicopter, plane.
Mike,
those systems malfunction.
That's a conversation for another day. Those
have you ever been to Disney World?
A
lot of automation at Disney World.
Mike, thank you very much. 713-440-8870. Natalie from Katy is on the line. Hello, Natalie.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. Really enjoyed the show. This mass transit problem in Houston is ridiculous. We're the fourth largest city in our country, and we can't move our people around within our own city. It's ridiculous. And I go to other cities and I visit. I don't even rent a car. I go see my kids in D.C. and New York. I hop on the train. I get to where I need to go. I get back home to Katy. If I get stranded in Katy, this is ridiculous. I don't know if y'all realize this. I moved to Katy in 1997. We only had 3 high schools in Katy. It's 11 public high schools in Katy now.
Wow.
If you get stuck somewhere, you're stuck. If everybody's gone to work, you can't catch a train, a bus. You got to Uber just to go from the car mechanic that might be 2 miles from your house just to get back home. We need mass transit. This is ridiculous.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you for that.
Let's move to Mickey from Montrose. Hi, Mickey. What's up?
Hi, everybody. I just want to say thanks for this show. I love listening. I'm calling for Montrose. I ride the bus to work every day, so I actually use mass transit, and it even has had traffic jam problems because of not just the cars on the road, but also there's so much construction in Montrose right now. But, yeah, I just wanted to echo everybody else, though, about investing in our mass transit system. The best thing we can do to make traffic better is to invest in transit because if you want to drive, you can still drive. I want to ride the train.
Agree. I'm with you.
Quickly, Mickey, I just want to ask you, as someone who does use our public transit, do you find it reliable? Does it get you where you need to go when you need to be there?
I would say I have to plan extra time in my route for sure. It gets me okay because I live in Montrose and I'm going mostly downtown. So, yes, for the most part, I'm mostly riding the 82 and the 41. Lately, because of all the construction, it has added about 15 to 30 minutes to my commute, which used to be 15 minutes long. Now it's about 30 to 45. But luckily, everyone in the office knows that I'm on the bus. So if I'm late, they're kind of like, well, it must have been, the bus.
They're like, Mickey's coming, the bus is late. Thank you for calling and sharing that, Mickey, with us. A point that I do want to bring out, too, a lot of construction is going on right now, but they're trying to get infrastructure in place because we have the World Cup coming.
Oh, yeah.
And so hopefully after this splurge of construction, things will calm down and it'll be much nicer roadways. I hope.
Well, usually they know what they're doing. Usually once it's done, it's great.
Yeah. Okay, 713-440-8870. It's Sarah from Rice University. Sarah, what's on your mind?
Well, not so much the public transportation, though I agree with what everybody has said, but the quality of the streets. They have gone in and repaved several streets in this area from completely, not just topping them with asphalt or something, but starting over again. And they're rough when they're built. And then, of course, with the traffic, it just makes it worse with potholes and everything else that aren't repaired properly. So that's my complaint.
Sarah, thank you for that and for bringing that into the conversation. Streets, we get a lot of comments on. Roadways, all of that. 713-440-8870. Sully from Sharpstown is on the line. Sully, what's on your mind?
A couple of things. First off, about mass transit. How cool would it be to have, like, ski lifts running down the...
I love that idea.
Yeah. You know what my plan is? One-way streets, just like they do in Manhattan.
We have one-way streets.
Well, we don't have enough. Like if Richmond was one way all the way, and then the opposite way you had Westheimer, and the other way you had San Felipe, and the other way you had Alabama. If you got into a lot of one-way streets, that would make traffic go a lot better.
I'm more in favor with Sully and having the ski lift. Sully, was that all you had to share with us?
Let's go to Alvin. If Alvin's back, we love Alvin. We're going to squeeze Alvin in here. Alvin, what's up from the 3rd Ward?
All right, now, how you guys doing?
Good.
Okay, I'm gonna make it. I'm rapid fire because I'm gonna make it quick. Okay. First off, I actually did hear from a pilot though that a passenger plane unpowered actually does turn into a glider.
Thank you.
They can actually do that. And then also, what's going on with late at night? You're traveling at 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you come over a hump in the highway, and all the lanes are collapsing down to one lane in rapid succession, where now people are trying to avoid a collision with each other.
You're right.
And lastly, what's going on with all of these concrete speed bumps that'll be there to the end of time, creating all of this havoc in terms of car repairs and all that. Anyway, that's me.
Thanks,
Alvin. Thank you very much. I'm still on Sully's ski lifts. I would love to see a bunch of those ski carriers across the streets, down Westheimer. Everyone's up in those little gondolas.
Well, we have some good ideas, like a more walkable city, a more bikeable city. We're very behind on mass transit when you consider the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. And, Denise says Amtrak was on it, but I think Trump Musk pulled the funding, which they may have.
Well, as we wrap up, yesterday I didn't get to tell you it was Taco Day because I wasn't here, but I can tell you today it's National Hero Day, so we're celebrate your hero, and also it's National Fluffernutter Day. So have a fluffernutter and think about Hello Houston.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds dirty.
No, it's not. When we come back, we're going to finally figure out the truth behind what is the Texas Stock Exchange and help us understand how that all functions. Coming up next right here on Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Federal funding for public media has been cut. In response, we're creating Houston Public Media's Resiliency Fund. Donations made toward the fund will directly counter the loss of the $2.2 million in federal funds that were cut annually and strengthen our station's foundation to provide our services into the future. Contributing to this fund is easy and quick and makes all the difference to our station. Help build the Resiliency Fund now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
0887.
The International Space Station is a monument to human cooperation, playing host to astronauts from around the world, even if their home countries aren't playing nice back on Earth. But NASA will deorbit the ISS in 2030 and hand the reins of space station development to private companies. What does this mean for humanity's stellar future? That's next time on 1A.
You can listen to 1A coming up this afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Imagine two friends getting together.
So what's happening in Congress?
Well, this is something that is going to be tough to defend in an election year. And that's assuming it even passes, which it might not.
Imagine you could listen in.
And then what about the Senate? The bills are just rocketing out of the chamber.
Have they gone too far? The House might say, well, wait a minute.
Well, you can. Party Politics with Brandon Rottinghouse and Geronimo Cortina. Fridays at 7:30 p.m. on News 88.7, at 8 on TV8, and on your favorite podcast platforms.
Support comes from Houston Center for Contemporary Craft, presenting Craft Texas 2025, a juried show featuring work by nearly 50 Texas artists in a variety of media. More at crafthouston.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Frank Billingsley.
I'll move over Wall Street. Y'all Street is stepping onto the scene. The Texas Stock Exchange, now known as TXI, just received federal approval to operate as a national exchange, setting the stage for its launch in Dallas early next year. Backed by heavy hitters like BlackRock and Citadel Securities, who all own each other, by the way, this ambitious project aims to challenge the long-standing dominance of New York's financial markets and capitalize on Texas' rapid rise as a business hub. With a booming economy, a flood of Fortune 500 companies, and a friendlier regulatory environment, Texas is making a serious bid to become the next big player in global finance. So the question is, do we really take on these giants like the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, and will it really work? So to break it all down, we're joined by Craig Pirrong, professor of finance at the University of Houston's C.T. Bauer College of Business. No other college could be better. I'm so glad you're here to explain all of this to us. So what do you think, Professor?
Well, it's going to be something of a long shot for it to work, but it's exchanges do basically three things. Stock exchanges. One is that they're a platform for executing stock trades. That landscape is very fragmented. And it's not a very high profit business, and so the Texas Exchange is not going to make much of a impact there. Another part is data, but I think what the stock exchange is aiming at is the listing business. So to trade on the U.S. markets, you have to be a listed company and you have to be listed by an exchange. Right now, NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange dominate listings. And what the Texas Exchange aims to do is to try to grab some of that listing business. And it's going to be challenging, but they do have something of a shot at that.
I've got Stock Exchange for Dummies here, so I need your help in understanding the whole concept of it, especially in today's day and age, why everything just isn't handled online. Why do there need to be exchanges, and how exactly do they work? I'm sorry I'm so ignorant to this.
Well, no, that's okay. That's fine. So I went into education. Yes, it is done online now. So all of the exchanges are electronic, but you need a sort of like a centralized auction marketplace in order for buyers and sellers to meet. So essentially what the exchanges do is that they offer a platform which connects buyers and sellers of stock. And now those connections are strictly electronic and computerized. And in addition, in the United States, one of the things that's sort of interesting about the U.S. market is the result of a regulation passed exactly 20 years ago. All the different stock exchanges, like New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, the BATS exchanges, they all have to be connected with one another. And the Texas Stock Exchange is going to be one of those exchanges that will be connected with all the other ones. But you still need a place for buyers and sellers to meet. Now the meeting place is essentially a virtual one.
Yes, that's what I was going to piggyback on what Ernie was saying. Wall Street, we always see them ring the bell and the tickers, and they're all this TXI won't have a floor. It'll all be electronic, and so it'll be cheaper, right? I mean, presumably.
Well, yes, that's cheaper. I mean, the New York Stock Exchange basically keeps the floor open primarily as sort of a backdrop, because it's not really exciting to look at computer servers, yes, so they're just going to basically plug in to this broader electronic network that exists in the United States, and so I think that there are 10 or 11. Securities exchanges now, the biggest one has a market share of about 10% of the volume, and the smallest one about 0.3% of the volume. So it's a very fragmented landscape.
So what will this do for Texas? Why does Texas want this?
Well, I think it why Texas wants it, and then why somebody wants it in Texas. In some respects, those can be two different questions. In terms of why BlackRock and Citadel and Schwab want an exchange in Texas, and then why would Texas want an exchange in Texas? Yeah, I think overall this is part of a drive by Texas to attract more corporations to relocate and incorporate in Texas. So, Tesla is sort of the big example because of the battle between Tesla and the Delaware Chancery Court, Delaware being where Tesla was incorporated. They said, well, we don't like the rules and the bureaucracy in Delaware where most companies are incorporated, so we're going to move to Texas. And Texas is hoping that that will be the start of a trend, and that they will be able to attract more corporations to relocate their incorporation to Texas. And having a stock exchange here would facilitate that. Also, they're looking for, and I think that this is really where the Texas Stock Exchange is looking for its growth opportunities, is that they're looking for more sort of new companies to go public in Texas, currently private companies to go public in Texas and list on the Texas Exchange as sort of a part of an overall regional strategy. The Texas Stock Exchange says that they're not just aiming at Texas, they're aiming at what they call the SEQ, the Southeastern Quadrant, so that they think that that's the big growth region in the United States, and that more companies will incorporate there, and the Texas Stock Exchange may facilitate that.
So is there any downside to this?
No, I don't think that there's really a downside to it. Well, let's put it this way. So the downside is that the exchange is a flop, but then the downside is that that's a cost that's eaten by BlackRock, Citadel, and Charles Schwab. So in terms of the listeners to your broadcast, the Texans, there's really no downside.
Okay, back to nuts and bolts here for me again. So I don't understand in today's day and age why the proximity to the exchange to a company matters. You say if we have an exchange here, then that might encourage companies to come to this region to develop. Why does that matter?
Well, so I mean, it's really what they're hoping for is sort of a synergy. So there's the one issue as to where a company is incorporated. So most companies in the United States are incorporated in either Delaware or New York, with Delaware being by far the biggest state of incorporation. And so Texas is hoping that that there's enough dissatisfaction with corporate law in Delaware that will attract some companies to relocate, like Tesla, but also will basically mean that there'll be a more favorable environment for companies that are in this region to go public and incorporate in Texas. So that's one issue. The other issue is where a company lists so that it can be traded on the national market. Right now, New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ dominate that. They basically have 100%, a very large fraction of the listings. Texas and the Texas Stock Exchange are hoping that there's going to be sort of a synergy between the decision to list and the decision as to where to incorporate.
Can you list on multiple exchanges?
Yes, you can list on multiple exchanges, but listing costs money, not a huge amount of money. And so most companies are single listed.
Okay. All right, we have a call for you, Professor. Glenn is on the line from League City. Welcome to Hello Houston, Glenn. What's your question or comment for Professor Pirrong?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so I'm just curious, why don't we have a stock exchange in every state? I mean, is there...
Well, once upon a time it was not. So once upon a time there was the Boston Stock Exchange, the Philadelphia Stock Exchange, the Cincinnati, Chicago, Pacific Coast, Denver. Sort of before communications revolution, there were regional exchanges. One thing that has really driven the consolidation is the computerization and electronification of trading. So there's no longer an advantage to being sort of co-located, if you will, where your business is co-located where an exchange is. Back in the days of high button shoes and the telegraph, maybe there was an advantage, but nowadays there's no such advantage, and so that's why the market has become very concentrated.
Do the exchanges set the rate at which things trade, the cost of things?
Well, so they're a platform where the price of the security, the price of Tesla stock or ExxonMobil stock, where that is determined. The exchanges do have fees that they charge to trade on the exchange. So you might pay a penny a share or something like that in exchange fees. And fees, and one thing that's happened during the electronification era is that the fee structures of exchanges have become somewhat complicated, but they charge a fee for their service, but they don't determine the price of the security.
So can it trade at different amounts on different exchanges, though?
Well, that's actually a
where I'm
big
getting.
issue right now. So this regulation, National Market System, Reg NMS, which I mentioned earlier, that passed 20 years ago, was implemented 20 years ago, basically, this is something of a misstatement, but it captures the essence of it. Basically, it requires everything to trade at the same price on every one of these exchanges. So the whole idea of linking these exchanges together is that you could go to any one of these exchanges and get the same price for ExxonMobil stock. And so there's something called the trade-through rule, which if like a stock is being offered at $50 on one exchange, you can't sell it for $50.01 on your exchange. You have to basically send that order to the one offering the best price. And so there can be sort of literally measured in the milliseconds or even nanoseconds, price disparities across exchanges. But nowadays, pretty much everything sells at the same price on every exchange.
So we have a text, Y'all Street. I'm under the impression that there are fewer laws about kickbacks, et cetera, in Texas. This would still be under the scrutiny of the SEC, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, and so first of all, that's more sort of a state law, federal law thing as opposed to an exchange thing. Also in terms of so if you're talking about securities laws and things of that nature, yes, there's the Securities Act and the Exchange Act, which regulate most of those kinds of things. Different states have their own securities laws and things of that nature, but the federal security laws are what really dominates.
If we see Texas doing that, do you see the development of more of these exchanges again, going back to the olden ways as more starts springing up because they see the advantages in trying to do what Texas is doing, or do you think we're a one-off?
I think we're, Texas exceptionalism to some degree. Like I say, I think it's pretty much of a long putt as to whether this is going to be successful or not. And I think that others will sort of wait and see how things transpire here in Texas before deciding to go forward. It was the sort of the initiative in the first place was something of a surprise, and it was considered sort of a contrarian play. And I think that's people will still sort of want to see how it goes here.
So who gets to decide if my company gets to be on the Texas Exchange?
Well, so again, there are two issues. If you're a part of the national market system, if your company is listed on the New York Stock Exchange or on NASDAQ, your stock can trade on the Texas Exchange.
So they have to let me in?
Yes. Okay. Well, but that's, if you're listed, then we can trade on the Texas Exchange. Then the other question is who decides where your stock is listed, and that's up to the board of directors of the corporation. So, a company can decide I want to list on the Texas Exchange, And that's a decision that the company makes. But once it's listed on the Texas exchange, it can trade on all the others.
Because, I mean, there are some companies like Apple that has been considered not very conservative, like more of a liberal company. Will the Texas exchange have the authority to say this company is too conservative or this company is not conservative enough? Or would that not even play into it?
Well, no. I mean, so there are going to have listing standards, and one of the things that the Texas Stock Exchange touts is that its listing standards are actually going to be more strict than those of other exchanges. But this relates to things relating, primarily to, financial accounting, financial position, things of that nature, as opposed to the, sort of non-financial aspects of a company.
All right. Thank you for your time. Craig Pirrong is a professor of finance at the University of Houston's C.T. Bauer College of Business. Craig, we're so glad you were here on Hello Houston, and come back.
All right. I'll be glad to be back. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up, we're going to take a look at what's going on over at FotoFest. So stay with us here on Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Hello, I'm Josh Adams, General Manager of Houston Public Media. This station just lost $2.2 million in federal support annually. To keep our station strong, we've launched the Resiliency Fund, powered by community members just like you. Your support will help bridge the funding gap and ensure these programs remain free and accessible to everyone. If public media and this station matter to you, now is the time to act. Support the Resiliency Fund today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Dr. Michael Schaefer, proud sponsors of Houston Matters with Craig Cohen. Tune in Monday through Friday at 9 on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from DeCamera, presenting an all-Schubert recital of solo piano and songs with baritone Matthias Gurna and pianist Daniil Trifonov. October 29th at Wortham Center. Tickets at decamera.com. Support comes from Houston Grand Opera, presenting for the first time in company history Puccini's trio of one-act operas. Il Tridico, featuring one of opera's most famous songs, O mio Babino Caro. Tickets available at hgo.org.
Support comes from John Moore, helping with plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning repairs, including out-of-warranty units since 1965. Details at 730-2525 or at johnmooreservices.com.
Support comes from Avenue 360 Health and Wellness. Voices for Hope is Friday, November 7th at River Oaks Country Club, benefiting the Omega House Hospice and Avenue 360's HIV testing, prevention, and more. Details at avenue360.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Ernie Manous and Frank Billingsley.
FotoFest, based here in Houston, promotes photography and visual culture through exhibitions, public programs, and publications. Today marks the opening of their new show, Hillerbrand. Is it plus or and? How are we saying it? Hillerbrand or just slam them together?
Hillerbrand and Magsamen.
Okay, Hillerbrand and Magsamen. Nothing is precious, everything is game. It's on view now through November 22nd at Silver Street Studios. This is the first comprehensive survey of the Houston-based artist duo, a multimedia collection of photographs, videos, sculptures, and performances spanning their careers. Here to tell us more is FotoFest Executive Director Stephen Evans. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, good morning.
And the artists themselves, Hillerbrand and Magsamen. Stephen Hillerbrand, hello. Or Stephan.
Yes. Stephan.
Stephan Hillerbrand and
morning.
Mary Magsamen. Welcome.
Hello.
If you have questions and you want to join the conversation, just give us a call or text us 713-440-8870. I'm going to start with Stephen on this, first of all.
Great.
The significance of bringing these two artists together and putting on this show.
Well, we didn't bring them together, but it was shortly after our last biennial in 2024 that I was sitting with the staff and I got this huge brainstorm that a survey of this incredible collaborative was long overdue. They've been working together for over 20 years at that point. And FotoFest has this very large gallery space at Silver Street Studios in Arts District Houston. And we had never given it over to a single artist for a survey yet, but we've done that twice this year. This is the second one, and it's, as you said, it's on view from today. They make incredible work. I first saw their work before I even moved to Texas when I was living in New York, and I've been following it since then. I was working in San Antonio and had the opportunity to show it there. And I'm just so pleased that FotoFest can do this. And these are two of Houston's favorite artists, so it was kind of a no-brainer.
They live in Houston, work in Houston. Let's be clear.
They are beloved.
I'm not sure we said they're married. This is a husband-wife team.
Yeah,
that's right.
That Stephan and Mary. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Did you?
Oh my goodness!
Were you attracted to each other because of your artistry, or did that come later?
There's two versions to this story. So, Mary.
No, we met in graduate school. And
what kind of graduate school?
Art school.
Okay,
so
art school.
We both went to Cranbrook Academy of Art, and we were in the sculpture department there. And that's where we met. And
so who said, you know what, we should do more than go out together. We should actually create art together.
I think it really happened pretty organically, right? Yeah. We were living in New York and we were making work, and we just kind of looked at each other going, we do basically exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Did you find that your art had the same sensibilities? And if so, why do you think it matched so well?
Yeah, definitely. Stephan was doing photography and sculpture kind of combined. I was doing video and photography, but we were both doing work that was pretty autobiographical. So when we started like living together and sharing a studio, we were like, well, it kind of makes sense. And so we started playing around and doing things, and we had several failures. And
lots of failures. Don't look in the closet.
They are not on view.
Those pieces are not on view. But then we had, a few pieces that we were really excited about and happy about. And then we did a residency together. And I feel like that's when things really like clicked. And we're like, oh, okay, let's try to make this collaboration like
and that wasn't a real thing. That wasn't yesterday. You've been
at
it a while. I mean, you look great, but you've been at it a while.
No, this was pre-marriage, pre-kids.
25 years. We've been in Houston for 20 years, and we've been collaborating for 25.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that always binds us together is that art for us always is about, we always say this mantra, making the ordinary extraordinary. So if you went to this wonderful FotoFest exhibition, you would see we drill holes in our house to tunnel through it.
We have a great website.
Oh, thank you, thank you. We built a 3.5-story spaceship in our backyard for a video project for IAH. What we both love, and I think that's why we kind of fell in love, which is that art is about this ordinary life that people live, and you kind of look and you blink and you're like, no, it's actually really special, very extraordinary.
But you really bring a nice sense of humor to your work, or at least most of it.
Yes.
And it looks kind of fun and silly, but it's very poignant, I think.
Okay, too much kumbaya here. So, have you two ever felt limited by having to be in a partnership, or is there a way that you can still feel free to evolve as an artist on your own as opposed to
Oh my goodness, you just asked the solo album question, and whether or not we're going to go and do it. We have a story that we tell all the time, which is one day we were going to bed and we were brushing our teeth, and I looked at Mary and I said, Mary, I think we're growing apart. What should we do? And Mary looks at me, are you kidding me? We're raising kids together. We work together. We make art together. We need more time apart. And we just laughed and realized, again, the humor in it. No, we have never done anything by ourselves, right?
Yeah, once we started collaborating, it just it worked, and I think it's quite the opposite, that it frees us because we're able to bounce different ideas off each other, and since so much of our practice is about our home and family, it's like immediate too, and so it's been something where we're able to think about how all these things can fit together or not fit together, and have these continuous conversations about the work. And so, I would say it's been more free.
It's hard,
and
I think.
limiting.
Yeah, if you ask anybody who's creative, you know, it can get really lonely. You're the musician, you're the actor or the visual artist, and having somebody that you can always rely on and go, tell me the truth. Is this, you know, is this good, or will this make someone laugh?
The vast majority of the video work I've done through television, I've always worked with the same director and editor. Matt and I have been a team for 20 some odd years. There are moments where we fight and don't agree and push back and forth and all that. I can't imagine if we were also married, how you find where the limits are, where you can argue a point to a point of satisfaction without damaging a social collaboration. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for there. How does that work out, though? Do you find that it just... I have a funny feeling it's going to be all roses and sunshine with you.
Oh, no, not at all. No. I mean, we argue all the time in the studio. And I think we've learned over the years to like when we first started, it was like crashing heads together. And then we've kind of learned like, okay, sometimes it's different percentages of give and take, and I'll give you this if you give me that. And so there's a lot of negotiating that happens.
Give me some adjectives, because we're on radio.
Yeah.
We have YouTube, but we're on radio. So if people look at your website, they'll see, for instance, I think your child probably crawling through a hole in your wall. And the title of it is called WHOLE, hole.
Yes.
Not, as you tell us, a hole. So there's this like puns and kind of wry, clever, a little sarcastic, ironic. What adjectives would you use to describe your work?
As an outside observer from everything else you all were talking about, I find that their creative and emotional energy comes together and it ignites something. It makes an energy. So I think it's...
Well, that tells everybody listening exactly what it looks like.
Colorful, playful.
Oh, it's very colorful.
Yeah.
But like you guys sitting on this broken couch, and it's the DIY love seat, do-it-yourself love seat.
Which it goes to your other question. One morning over coffee, that's usually when we get our good ideas. Mary says, hey, I have an idea. I'm going to get a chainsaw from Home Depot, and I'm going to cut the couch in half and duct tape it together. Now, here's the point. The couch was the very first piece of furniture we ever bought as a married couple. So again, I was like, Mary, do we need, therapy, or do we need to see a counselor or something? She goes, no, it's just going to be playful and humorful and...
Playful, that's a good word. Yeah. A lot of this, and full of humor.
Yeah, and we also work with all different materials. So, we do photography, video, performance, sculpture, installation. So we work with we're very interdisciplinary. And so if you go see the show at FotoFest, you'll see there's a wide range of different mediums that we work with to do this. But everything also always uses everyday things. Like Stephan was saying before, it's all about the everyday objects.
Everything comes from our home almost all the time. This idea that an artist has to travel thousands of miles to the Grand Tetons and wait for that special moment. And those special moments are actually happening right inside the house, in the kitchen.
Quick question before we wrap. This I call the Yoko Ono question. Is the art where you guys sit the idea or the realization of it?
Oh, my goodness.
That's a good question.
No one's asked that before.
I would say both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're very much interested in ideas and concepts, but we also are very interested in how it comes together, how people experience it, what people think when they see it. That's why it's been exciting putting this retrospective together, to see all of this work kind of in one space.
It's amazing.
And so it's
really quick,
really
the nuts
fun.
and bolts, we got to go. So where is it now?
Yes. It's at FotoFest, and you can come meet the artists and come to the artist reception this coming Saturday from 2 to 5 p.m., 2000 Edwards Street, Silver Street Studios. And you can look on our website for directions and more info at www.FotoFest FotoFest.org.
And I would recommend meeting the artists.
Yeah, and Hillerbrand is a great website, so it's easy to Google. Thank you both for being here, and you as well.
We're out of time.
Hey.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with more Hello Houston.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation